All right, joining us now on Drive the Lane, head coach of the Ohio State men's basketball team, Jake Diebler. Coach, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back. Appreciate you guys for having me on and excited to talk a little hoops as the season gets ready to kick off.
Yeah, it's selfishly, it's always fun to have you on for two reasons. Obviously, we love catching up with you, but also because it means that basketball season is either right around the corner or literally already here. And, your team has been in action already, and we'll jump right into it. Can you give us the highlights of this offseason, the roster construction? We're nerds about that kind of stuff. So we'd love to hear your take on how this 2025 team came together.
Well, I think it's important to, identify why we were able to put together this type of team. And a big part of it was our staff chemistry. We have really all but one staff member back. If you rewind to, building a roster last year, I was recruiting players while I was hiring staff members. And it was rushed, and we were in a space where we were, trying to understand and figure out NIL. And so last year's team, although it played hard, fought hard, like it just didn't end up being the exact fit that I think we hoped it would. Um, Fast forward now to where we are, today and how we put this team together. There were a couple characteristics we identified that we knew we had to get. We felt like we had to raise our collective basketball IQ. You hear people talk a lot about experience, the value of experience in college basketball. That's part of experience, right? The more experience you have, the higher kind of basketball IQ your team is going to have. So we wanted to address, the experience portion specifically in the front court, because when you look at our team last year, we really had almost no experience in the front court going into the season. So that was part, but we also, before we did anything in the portal, our focus was 100% on retention, bringing back guys that we believed in, guys that we went through some real battles with, that we got experience together, and guys who were about the stuff that we want to be about. So that's where it started. I think that was a huge kind of like a huge success for us. And then we were able to piece together the surrounding parts, and it so far, we feel like it's come together extremely well, and I think people are going to be able to see that on the court.
Well, in the brief gameplay that we were able to see, which is just the one exhibition game, was definitely fun to watch the team, mainly just because we haven't had Buckeye basketball for a few months now. So it was definitely exciting to watch, get to see you back on the sidelines. How about you personally? Where's your confidence level in yourself as a head coach where you sit at the beginning of year two rather than year one?
Yeah, I think it's I don't know if confidence is the right word, because I certainly didn't lack confidence last year, but I think there's been like it's seasoned. Listen, Ohio State basketball has been around for 126 seasons. And for the first time ever, we had five straight games decided by one possession. You're going to become a better coach going through that, right? And I think this offseason, when we were able to put the roster together, it was important for me to take some time, step back, reflect on, okay, what are the areas I got to be better in, but also go back and reflect on the end of games. And, because I believe your job as a coach in those situations is to get the ball in one of your best players' hands and try to create an advantage for them. There's an execution element involved in that. You got fatigue factors, you got pressure factors, and there's all this other stuff that goes into it. And at the end of the day, a lot of times it comes down to one team making and one team missing, and it could just be that simple. But there were times where I felt like we put ourselves in a great position to win games, and we did it. And there were times where I felt like, we needed to be better to give ourselves a better chance to win. And being honest and sitting back and reflecting and studying those things, studying some end of game situations in European basketball and end of game situations in the NBA as well as college, I feel like I grew, significantly in that. And it was kind of baptism by fire, right? Like you're thrown into it, and you got all these games and these tight moments and tight windows. And it was new for a collection of people. which is important. It wasn't just new for me, right? This was our first time being together as a staff. It was our first time being together as a program. So it was new for all of us. And certainly you sprinkle in our inexperience and all those factors. Again, some things we did really well. We certainly needed to be better in some other areas, and I think we've addressed that.
Back to the roster, a lot of Ohio State fans, number one, are about to learn about this team for the first time, right? They've been focused on football. They aren't as clued into basketball like, me and Andrew are, obviously, but uh, they still know about the Bruce Thorntons, the Junie Mobleys, the Devin Royals of the world. What about some of the newcomers that excite you? I have guys in mind that I'd love to talk about, and I know some of the guys you want to talk about. Who, as an Ohio State fan, should you have your eye on early on?
Well, I think it starts in our front court. And when you look at Christoph Tilley and you saw the game against Ohio, what he was able to do, his ability to pass, and I had to get on him, before we even left the court and got to the locker room after the game. I said, man, don't go games without shooting threes. So I thought he passed up a couple opportunities to shoot. He's consistently shot it well. It's an important part of our offense, his ability to stretch the floor. And same thing with Brandon Knoll. You know, huge adjustment to ask Brandon to go from really having the ball, high usage rate, kind of dominating, creating for himself, to now transitioning, playing off of other players. And I thought he did that extremely well, really in both the scrimmage against Tennessee and against Ohio. And being productive in that space was something that we just weren't sure when he got here how long it would take. And I really think he started to figure it out. So, and then you had Amari Bynum, who, we have high level belief in. I think he's already gotten significantly better since he got here. He had a great foundation because he was coached well. He's got some great physical tools, and I think he's going to continue to get better as the year goes on. And, I'm glad now that everybody's been able to see, Yvonne's development, because I've been talking about that for a few months. And we saw it in the Tennessee scrimmage where, he had 10 rebounds. We saw it, against Ohio. I think his growth and his continued development is going to be important for this team. So that was a big thing. I think you start with kind of our front court, and then the depth at the guard position, and we'll call it perimeter, because you got to put Devin Royal in that conversation as well, as he's shifted more to the perimeter. But a healthy Tayson Chapman, Matthew Gruyachich, who's got a ton of high level international experience, different games certainly, and he didn't get to be involved in practice this summer. So I think we got to be patient with some of his development here in the next month. But those two guys, Gabe Cupps, who is gives you a ton of comfort as a coach, a guy that's going to play really hard, play really tough, can help manage a game, can help carry some of the playmaking burden, for guys and create for others. So I just love the way this team's come together, to be honest. And their chemistry has been off the charts. It was organic from day one. We tried to do some things to help it. Our offensive chemistry is ahead of our defensive chemistry right now. But our defensive chemistry is surging. And we saw a major improvement from Tennessee to Ohio. And I think we're going to continue to see that, because it's, as you can imagine, it's a point of emphasis.
Everyone always says defense leads to offense. Screw that. Offense leads to defense. You're going to score so much that the other team's just going to be chucking up three. No, I'm just kidding. My actual question, you have such a wide collection of players on this team, guys who are playing at this level for the first time in the Big Ten, guys who have been at Ohio State for a while, guys who come from other schools, freshmen. How do you give this collective team goals where, Noel, for example, is coming from a place like he didn't have the ability to compete for a Big Ten championship, or you need to win your conference to get into the tournament. Like, what have you decided on as the team's goals for this season?
Yeah, Andrew, it's really easy for me. Like, the standard is the standard, and we're very much process driven here. One of the first things I did when I took over as head coach was I put up in our practice gym the Big Ten championships and the Final Fours. Like, I'm not going to shy away from the history and the peaks of this program's history. Like, that's what we're fighting for. So we have as big a goals as you can have. Now, I think there's a process involved in building a program, and there's a process involved in I guess a season coming together and playing out. Right. But we're very much focused on that process, and we feel if we keep our head down and keep working on that stuff, that's going to best position us to accomplish what we need to accomplish this year. But it's not like we are not being shy about what we want this program to get back to, and it is the peaks of the over 100-year history of this program. We celebrate those peaks. That's why I have former players around as much as possibly can, guys who won championships and who can speak on what was impactful for their teams when they were together and chasing those championships. So that's what we're chasing. We're chasing that, and we are reminded of that every day we walk into the practice gym. However, in basketball in 31 games, right, or 31 game season, the season is not won or lost in one particular game. You got to keep focused on getting better, especially this time of year.
I feel like the only guy we haven't touched on and a guy who desperately wants to reach those goals in his tenure at Ohio State is Bruce. And I know he makes it so easy for you having him consistently throughout your time at Ohio State and now as his time is wrapping up. I mean, the dude is an all Big Ten, all American candidate, like as good of a point guard as you'll find. I just got to give you the floor to kind of pump him up as we go into his senior year because he deserves a lot of accolades, and my guess is he's going to prove it on the court and has been already.
Yeah, it's the ultimate trust, right? I think he and I, our relationship, the trust we have, my ability to coach him hard, when you can coach, your best players hard, and they respond well, it matters. So the relationship that he and I have will last long after, his Ohio State career. And I think that chemistry is important. But Bruce makes it easy because he's an every rep guy. I've said this before. He's not an everyday guy. He's an every rep guy. And the influence that has on your program, and Joe, you've been at practice, like the urgency, the pace, the physicality, the intensity that we practice with. That only works if the head coach never has a bad day, and the best players don't have bad days. And so like it's almost like a partnership, what we've been able to establish. He's so invested in Ohio State basketball. He proved his loyalty and how invested he is in this program being successful this spring. And he has a chance to kind of write the end of the story. And I think that's really cool. And we shouldn't take for granted what he's done, how he plays, his production, the consistency he operates with, because he does it all the time, right? So we absolutely should celebrate that. And he's a direct reflection of what we want this program to be about.
Coach, you can go back and listen to our last episode. I called him the Emeka Ibuka of Ohio State basketball. You
Big
could
time
take that how you want, but
big
it
time.
made sense when we explained it. My last question for you, because I know you're a busy guy, you got 1,000 of these today, but had to ask a fun drive the lane question. Will we see you in any team TikToks this year? If so, when can we look out for that? Set our alarms because we need to know if it's coming.
Yeah, I'm not a huge TikTok guy. I actually don't have TikTok, and it's hard to tell like what's going on, at times in the locker room and what guys are doing. I think the one thing for us that I tell our guys is like, just keep the main thing, right? Stay focused on the task at hand. There's a time and place for everything, and I want one of our values is joy, and I want our guys to have we work extremely hard. Like that's why I open up our practices. People come in. We got nothing to hide. Like we coach hard, we play hard, we work really hard. Guys who come from other programs come in and are like, wow, this is different. And that's good. So guys want to have a little fun. That's great. I don't think I'd be good at any of that. But if they try and sneak me on there and you guys see me and I don't know, I expect you to let me know. All right. That's my biggest thing. Make sure
We'll
you give me a heads up.
we'll let you know, and I know a young Jake Diebler loved to play FIFA back in the day in the locker room after practice. So there's no doubt that the joy has been there for a long time. My last question for you, uh, Coach Jake Diebler, how excited are you to have me back on the call for a few games this year for BTN?
Well, when I heard that you were going to be with us, it was so impactful, for me to hear that. Like the level of excitement. And that just I was overwhelmed. In fact, that's why I didn't call you because I didn't know what to say. I was so overwhelmed with how great it will be to have you back in the building. But listen, on a serious note, and that's not all entirely false. All right, it's exaggerated for effect there, but I do think it's really cool that you're going to be able to do that, and I'm happy for how your kind of career in that space continues to progress, and ball, and I think you got an ability, when you're in that seat to uh, be a Buckeye, but do your job, which is hard. It's hard, and you see so many times people who when they're responsible for calling a game or speaking about their alma mater, they don't do it as well as they should or could. And I think you've handled that space extremely well. So, what's our record when you are calling our games?
Undefeated, go even when you were the interim coach for that game when Holt was sick, undefeated.
Now you know why I'm so excited to have you back in the
Right.
building.
Yeah, hey, call the studio, let them know we need them for every home game. I'll be there.
You'll do
I'll
that?
be
Okay,
there. I
good.
will sacrifice for that 100%.
Well, good thing is we don't have very many noon games. So,
Yeah.
that's the good thing. Although
Thankfully.
we'll be there this Saturday coming up, man. So excited about our football team. Obviously, we have the best football team in the country. And, I got to spend some time with Ryan Day and Coach Mick this summer, which was really cool, and see some of their behind the scenes meetings with their team. And we've implemented some of the things they do in our program. So, yeah, I know I just kind of went on a random
No, I like that.
sidebar there, but
You want to
Oh,
say
that was great.
Julian Sand for Heisman too?
it made me, yes, yes, we're the best. And I'm biased. I know that. I haven't gotten to watch as much because we're busy on football Saturdays. But yeah, Heisman, best receiver, best defensive players, best coach for sure. This team has been really cool to follow, and I'm just appreciative like seriously, I'm appreciative of the relationship I have with Coach Day, and them letting us kind of come alongside them this off season and see what they do behind the scenes, because it's what a high level operation. The
Can't even
sustained
imagine.
success, the sustained success, the players, their development, it's truly remarkable, and for us to have access to see how they operate on a day-to-day basis is pretty special. So can't wait to see how this season plays out for them. And we'll be following them every step of the way.
Well, I'm calling it right now. First school in college sports history, coach of the year, Heisman for football, coach of the year, Naismith player of the year for basketball, the Ohio State University. I'm calling it right now. Early congratulations to you, coach.
A lot of work to do, but hey, I won't fight you on that, man. That'd be something pretty special.
Well, Jake, thanks again. This is always a blast, and I'll see you in a few days here.
All right, looking forward to it. And how about like maybe like a halfway point of the season instead of once a year? I mean, you guys like
Love it. You're
Done.
in.
all right. All right. Thanks. You guys have a good one.
Thanks,
You
Jake. See you
too.
soon.